On November 11th, 2024, Leonardo Wilhelm DiCaprio turned 50 years old, half a century of life for a man who, in many ways, seems suspended in time. Forever the boyish heartthrob of Titanic, forever the daring risk-taker of The Revenant, forever the Hollywood star whose private life has fascinated the world as much as his films. For decades, DiCaprio has been more than just an actor. He has been a symbol. To his fans, he is the embodiment of dedication to craft. The man who refused to sell out to blockbusters and instead chose to work with auteurs like Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, and Christopher Nolan. To critics, he is one of the most skilled performers of his generation. An Oscar winner whose filmography spans from cult classics like The Basketball Diaries to epics like The Wolf of Wall Street.
Once upon a time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long, Leonardo DiCaprio attended the premiere, and by the end, his date was too old for him.
But to tabloids, to gossip magazines, and to millions of curious fans scrolling through headlines, DiCaprio has also been something else. A mystery of the heart. The question has followed him for decades. Who does Leonardo DiCaprio love? The answer, of course, has never been simple. DiCaprio himself has avoided marriage, fatherhood, and the kind of stable domestic life many expected him to embrace by now. Instead, his romantic life has been marked by a series of high-profile relationships with some of the most beautiful and celebrated women in the world. Some lasted months, some years, some ended quietly, others in public spectacle, and yet among them there are 6 women who stand apart, 6 relationships that shaped him, defined him, and left a mark that neither time nor fame could erase. To understand Leonardo DiCaprio at 50 is to understand not only his career, but also the women he will never forget. The early days, from child actor to rising star. Before diving into the women who shaped him, it's important to understand where DiCaprio began. Born in Los Angeles in 1974, Leonardo grew up in modest circumstances. His parents divorced when he was a baby, and he was raised primarily by his mother, Irmeline, in a tough neighborhood near Hollywood. It was not glamour, it was survival. From an early age, Leonardo was fascinated by performing. He appeared in commercials, small television roles, and finally broke out in the early 1990s with What's Eating Gilbert Grape. His raw, fearless performance as Arnie Grape, a mentally disabled boy, earned him an Academy Award nomination at just 19.
Is it true you almost quit acting when you were 11?
Yes, because I was a break dancer. I was a break dancer, and I knew that was next.
Yeah.
And I had a, choppy, sort of punky haircut.
Suddenly, Hollywood saw not just another teen actor, but a prodigy. By the mid-1990s, he was a star. Romeo plus Juliet, 1996, made him the poster boy for teenage romance. Titanic, 1997, turned him into a global icon. Overnight, DiCaprio became the most desired young actor in the world, pursued not only by directors and producers, but by the public, the press, and of course, women. It was in this furnace of fame that his first unforgettable relationship emerged.
I never question what I'm subconsciously attracted to as an actor. It's never been an aversion to doing a love story or any genre of movie. I'm happy to try anything.
Do you love him?
Pardon me?
Do you love him?
Gisele Bündchen, the supermodel who defined his 20s. In 2000, Leonardo DiCaprio began dating Brazilian supermodel Gisele Bündchen. At the time, she was already a rising star in the fashion world, but their relationship catapulted her into global superstardom. Together, they were the golden couple of the early 2000s, the world's most famous actor and the world's most beautiful model. Their romance lasted 5 years, an eternity in Hollywood terms, and during that time, they were inseparable. Paparazzi captured them courtside at basketball games, vacationing on yachts, walking red carpets, and enjoying private escapes in exotic locales. But what made the relationship unforgettable for DiCaprio wasn't just the glamour. Gisele was one of the few women who matched him in both fame and independence. She was not simply Leonardo's girlfriend. She was a powerhouse in her own right, eventually becoming the highest-paid supermodel in the world. The cracks began to show as DiCaprio's reputation as Hollywood's eternal bachelor collided with Gisele's desire for a more grounded life. In her memoir years later, Gisele revealed that their breakup was not about lack of love, but about lifestyle. She wanted stability, a family, and a healthier, more mindful existence. Leonardo, at 29, was still caught in the whirlwind of fame, parties, and Hollywood's social scene. When they parted ways in 2005, it was amicable but final. Gisele went on to marry NFL superstar Tom Brady and build a family. For Leonardo, the loss was significant. She had been his longest relationship up to that point, and her departure left a void that no casual fling could fill. Even today, observers point to Gisele as one of the women who set the standard for DiCaprio's relationships. Strong, independent, and iconic in her own right. Bar Refaeli, the model who stuck by him the longest. Shortly after Gisele, DiCaprio began a relationship with Israeli model Bar Refaeli. If Gisele defined his early 20s, Bar defined his 30s. Their relationship, which began in 2005, lasted intermittently for 6 years, making her his longest-standing partner. Together, they weathered the storm of paparazzi obsession. Their romance coincided with some of DiCaprio's greatest professional triumphs: The Departed, 2006, Blood Diamond, 2006, and Inception, 2010. Through it all, Bar was often by his side. Quietly supportive, rarely giving interviews, preferring to keep their relationship out of the tabloids. What made Bar unforgettable to DiCaprio was her loyalty. Even as the media hounded them, even as rumors swirled about his reluctance to commit, she remained steady. They broke up briefly in 2009, only to reconcile months later. When they finally ended things for good in 2011, it was with mutual respect. Bar later admitted that dating someone as famous as DiCaprio was challenging. The constant scrutiny was suffocating, but she also acknowledged the depth of their bond. For Leonardo, Bar represented comfort, a partner who endured the chaos of his fame without trying to change him. Their breakup marked the end of an era. After Bar, Leonardo never again maintained such a long, stable relationship. Blake Lively, the actress who brought a different energy. In 2011, shortly after his split with Bar Refaeli, DiCaprio had a brief but memorable romance with actress Blake Lively. Though their relationship lasted only 5 months, it was one of the most talked about pairings of the decade. Blake was at the height of her fame as a star of Gossip Girl, and her youthful energy seemed to catch DiCaprio off guard. Unlike his relationships with models, which often stayed private, Blake embraced the spotlight with playfulness. Paparazzi photos showed them laughing, sharing tender moments, and enjoying a whirlwind summer of travel that included Europe and Australia. Though short-lived, the relationship revealed another side of Leonardo. Lighter, more carefree, less guarded. Those who knew him said he was genuinely smitten, charmed by Blake's warmth and humor. Ultimately, the relationship ended amicably, with Blake soon after beginning her romance with actor Ryan Reynolds, whom she married in 2012. For DiCaprio, Blake represented something rare, a glimpse of what a relationship outside the modeling world could be. She remains, even today, one of the few actresses ever linked to him seriously. Toni Garn and The Pattern of Models. After Blake, DiCaprio's romantic life seemed to settle into a pattern that tabloids delighted in mocking. Younger models, brief romances, and a refusal to settle down. Among them was German model Toni Garn, whom he dated from 2013 to 2014. Toni was striking, ambitious, and intelligent, but the relationship highlighted a criticism that has followed DiCaprio into his 50s: his preference for much younger women. At the time, he was nearing 40 while Toni was just in her early 20s. Though their romance ended quietly, Toni Garn later described him with kindness, suggesting there was genuine affection between them. For DiCaprio, Toni was another unforgettable chapter, not because of scandal or drama, but because she fit into the lifestyle he had chosen. Glamorous, jet-setting, beautiful, the relationship reflected the way he had grown comfortable navigating love in the shadow of fame. Camila Morrone, the woman who almost changed everything. If there is one woman in Leonardo DiCaprio's recent history who seemed poised to break the cycle, it was Camila Morrone. They began dating in 2017, when Camila was just 20 years old and DiCaprio was 43. The age gap drew criticism and became the subject of endless memes and jokes about DiCaprio's refusal to date women over 25. But the relationship was different. Camila, an actress and model, was not only stunning, but also grounded. Friends noted that she seemed to bring stability to Leonardo's life, that their bond was more serious than his previous relationships. For nearly 5 years, she was his partner, accompanying him to events, sharing quiet moments, and even enduring the pandemic lockdown together. In interviews, Camila defended their relationship, insisting that love should not be judged by age. And for a time, it seemed as though DiCaprio might finally be ready to settle down. But in 2022, news broke that they had split. The reason was never fully explained, though insiders suggested it was simply the end of a natural chapter. Still, the loss of Camila was significant. She had been his longest and most stable relationship since Bar Refaeli. And for many fans, she was the one who almost changed everything. The 6 women he'll never forget. Looking back at 50, Leonardo DiCaprio's love life is as complex as his career. Of all the women he has dated, 6 stand out as unforgettable.
Leo, I'm so happy I can stand here and tell you how much I love you and how much I've loved you for 13 years.
Gisele Bündchen, the supermodel who defined his 20s and taught him about the limits of love and lifestyle. Bar Refaeli, the loyal partner who stood by him during his biggest career triumphs. Blake Lively, the actress who showed him a different kind of relationship, brief but impactful. Tony Garn, the model who reflected his Hollywood lifestyle and the patterns that tabloids never let him forget. Camila Morrone, the woman who almost convinced him to settle down, whose absence may have left a deeper scar than he admits. And, perhaps most importantly, Irmeline DiCaprio, his mother, the one woman who has been constant throughout his life. Though not a romantic partner, Irmeline has shaped Leonardo more than anyone else. She has been his date to countless awards shows.
Moms out there watching, this is going to get you. We learned that one of the greatest loves of Leo's life is his mother, Irmeline DiCaprio. He's looking like a babe today.
He is.
Now, had you any idea that your son was going to grow up to be the Leonardo DiCaprio?
No, I had no idea at all.
His emotional anchor and his fiercest protector. In interviews, Leonardo has admitted that his devotion to his mother has often complicated his love life. Few women can compete with the bond he shares with her. At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio's career remains unparalleled, but his personal life continues to fascinate. The 6 women he will never forget are not just romantic footnotes. They are markers of his journey, reflections of who he was at different stages of his life, and reminders of the complexity behind the world's most famous bachelor. For Leonardo, love has never been simple. It has been glamorous, scrutinized, fleeting, and sometimes profound.
So that if you're going to venture into this world, your private life is going to become public. But like I said, you adapt to those circumstances.
And as he steps into the next chapter of his life, the question lingers: will the eternal bachelor finally settle down? Or will he remain the man whose love stories are forever part of Hollywood legend? Reflections. Leonardo DiCaprio at 50 is more than just an actor celebrating a milestone birthday. He is one of the most enduring figures in modern Hollywood, a man who has managed to keep his career not only alive, but consistently at the top of the industry for over 3 decades. His name still fills theaters, his performances still command awards attention, and his collaborations with some of the greatest directors of our time continue to shape the history of cinema.
Who's the person that's number 1 on that invitation list? Leonardo DiCaprio.
But alongside the filmography, there's always the fascination: the women. For 25 years, DiCaprio's relationships have filled gossip columns as much as his acting has filled screens. Tabloids track his romances the way they once tracked Elizabeth Taylor's marriages or Frank Sinatra's affairs. Fans cheer when he appears with someone new, sigh when another relationship ends, and joke endlessly about his supposed 25-year-old rule. And yet, the truth is far more complex than the headlines suggest. The 6 women he will never forget represent more than gossip. They reflect stages of his life, pieces of his identity, and glimpses of the man behind the myth. At 50, those relationships: Gisele Bündchen, Bar Refaeli, Blake Lively, Tony Garn, Camila Morrone, and his mother, Irmeline, tell us as much about his legacy as any Oscar statue.
Leonardo's age goes up linearly. The age of his mates stays roughly the same at about 25. 9 or 10 girlfriends. It's been a consistent pattern.
They reach 25 and then he replaces them with another one.
The eternal bachelor myth. For years, Leonardo DiCaprio has been branded as Hollywood's eternal bachelor. The narrative is simple. He dates young, beautiful women, rarely over 25, and never marries. This storyline has been repeated so often it has become cultural shorthand, a joke referenced in talk shows, late-night monologues, and memes. But why does it matter so much? After all, many actors have lived unconventional personal lives. Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty, and George Clooney all carried reputations as playboys, yet none were mocked with quite the same intensity as DiCaprio. The answer lies in timing. DiCaprio became famous at 23 with Titanic. The film made him a global heartthrob, not just an actor, but a fantasy for millions of young women. From that moment on, every aspect of his love life was magnified. Unlike his peers, who either married young or faded into relative obscurity, DiCaprio remained single, visible, and endlessly photographed. Each new girlfriend became part of the narrative. Each breakup reinforced the myth. At 50, the myth persists, but beneath it lies a deeper truth. DiCaprio has not been a reckless womanizer, but a man who has struggled to reconcile his career, his fame, and his desire for control with the demands of love and commitment. Gisele and Bar, the lost chances. Looking back, the two longest relationships of DiCaprio's life, with Gisele Bündchen and Bar Refaeli, remain pivotal. Both lasted years, both were serious, and both ended not in scandal, but in quiet recognition that he was not ready to change. For Gisele, the issue was lifestyle. She wanted stability, a healthier life, and eventually a family.
I met him a few months ago with one of my best friends in New York, and he was just like a very nice guy, and he's almost my age, so we kind of got along together.
DiCaprio, still in his 20s, was consumed by fame and the Hollywood party circuit. He adored her, but he could not give her what she wanted. Their split was not bitter, but inevitable. With Bar, the issue was longevity. They were together on and off for 6 years, through DiCaprio's greatest career successes. She supported him quietly, respected his need for privacy, and gave him a sense of normalcy in the chaos of stardom. But eventually, even Bar realized he would not commit to marriage or children. These two women are unforgettable not just because of who they were, but because of what they represented: opportunities for DiCaprio to step into a different kind of life. Both times he walked away. At 50, one wonders whether he sees those choices as mistakes or simply as paths he was not meant to take. Blake Lively and the road not taken. Blake Lively was different. For a brief 5 months in 2011, she showed DiCaprio another world. Blake was not a model, but an actress, successful in her own right, with a bright personality that made him smile in public. Their relationship was filled with laughter, travel, and playfulness. For once, DiCaprio seemed less guarded, less stoic, more willing to be photographed as a man in love rather than a man avoiding the cameras.
She's my favorite actress in the industry. She's actually hanging out with me tonight. We're gonna go to the after parties together.
Oh, you and Kate?
Yeah.
Clarify that to make sure. Just because everybody wants you to be a couple.
But Blake's ambitions were different. She wanted a stable life, marriage, and family, goals she later achieved with Ryan Reynolds. DiCaprio, then 37, was still not ready to give that. Their split was friendly, but it marked another missed opportunity, a road not taken. Tony Garn, Camila Morrone, and the criticism of age. By the time DiCaprio dated Tony Garn in 2013, his reputation was cemented. At 39, dating a woman in her early 20s reinforced the media narrative that he only pursued women under 25. Tony was beautiful, intelligent, and kind, but the relationship fit into a pattern that critics could not ignore. Then came Camila Morrone, a relationship that seemed different. For nearly 5 years, she was by his side. The age gap, 23 years, sparked jokes and criticism. But friends of DiCaprio said Camila brought stability and depth. They quarantined together during the pandemic, attended public events, and seemed genuinely happy. Many believed Camila might be the one to finally break the pattern. But in 2022, they split. The reason remains private, though speculation suggests it was, once again, DiCaprio's reluctance to settle down. At 50, the age gap criticism follows him relentlessly. To some, it is proof of immaturity. To others, it is simply preference. What cannot be denied is that these relationships, particularly with Camila, shaped him profoundly. The one woman who outshines them all through it all. One woman has remained constant. Irmeline Birkin, Leonardo's mother. She raised him as a single parent in tough Los Angeles neighborhoods, working tirelessly to support his dreams. She attended auditions, sat with him at award shows, and accompanied him on red carpets well into his adulthood. Leonardo has often called his mother his hero, crediting her with his discipline, resilience, and grounding. Friends say his devotion to Irmeline has made relationships with other women complicated. Few partners could compete with the bond between mother and son. At 50, Irmeline remains the most important woman in DiCaprio's life. Proof that love, for him, has always been less about romance and more about loyalty. Reflections at 50. So what does Leonardo DiCaprio think about love at 50? Publicly, he says little. He remains private, careful, even secretive about his personal life. But in rare moments, he has hinted at regrets. In one interview, he admitted that his career consumed him, leaving little room for personal commitments. In another, he acknowledged that fame made trust difficult. Every relationship was burdened by scrutiny, every partner judged by the public. Perhaps the 6 women he will never forget are less about romance and more about timing. Gisele came too early. Bar came when his career was at its peak.
There were times when you'd rather just stay at home than go out because it was just safer to stay at home.
Yeah, I had a ring on my street. Drug addicts in my alleyway. There was, I got robbed at 5 years old or something like that.
5 years old?
Yeah.
Blake represented possibility. Tony reflected habit. Camila symbolized stability. And Irmeline has always been his foundation. Together, they form a mosaic of DiCaprio's inner life. A story of a man who has given everything to his craft, but remains unsure what to give of his heart. The cultural fascination. Why does Leonardo DiCaprio's love life matter so much? Because it reveals our own obsessions. In a world where fame is fleeting, DiCaprio has remained constant. His films have evolved, his activism for climate change has grown, but his personal life seems frozen in a pattern. It is both fascinating and frustrating, a riddle that fans and critics alike cannot resist trying to solve. At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio is still one of the world's most eligible bachelors. He has wealth, fame, talent, and influence, but what keeps us captivated is not what he has, but what he is not. A wife, children, or the traditional milestones of family life. Perhaps that is why his 6 unforgettable women matter so much. They are not just girlfriends. They are touchstones of possibility, each representing a different path he could have taken. Each shows us a glimpse of the man behind the myth, a legacy beyond love. Leonardo DiCaprio's true legacy will not be defined by his romances, but by his films, his activism, and his cultural impact. He has used his fame to champion climate change awareness, donating millions to conservation efforts. He has mentored young actors, supported independent cinema, and redefined what it means to be a global star in the 21st century. And yet, when people look back on his life, they will remember the women too. Just as Elizabeth Taylor will always be remembered for her diamonds and marriages, and Frank Sinatra for his romances as much as his music, DiCaprio's love life will be part of his mythology. At 50, the story is not over. There may yet be another unforgettable woman. But for now, the 6 who defined his journey, Gisele, Bar, Blake, Tony, Camila, and Irmeline, remain the ones he cannot forget, the ones who shaped him, the ones whose names are forever linked to his. As Leonardo DiCaprio steps into the second half of his life, his legacy is already secure. He is an actor of unmatched dedication, a cultural icon, and a man whose personal life has fascinated the world for decades. The 6 women he will never forget are more than headlines. They are the chapters of his heart. Each one reflects a stage of his journey, a choice made or not made, a possibility embraced or abandoned. Together, they form a hidden biography. One written not on film reels or award stages, but in private moments of love, laughter, and loss. At 50, Leonardo DiCaprio is still writing his story. The question that lingers is simple. Will the next chapter bring another unforgettable woman? Or will the Eternal Bachelor remain as he always has been, a legend defined as much by the women he loved as by the roles he played? Leonardo DiCaprio at 50 is more than a movie star. He is a cultural force, an actor whose craft has shaped cinema, and a man whose private life has fueled endless fascination. The 6 women he will never forget are not just chapters of romance. They are milestones in his journey, reflections of the choices he made, and reminders of the paths he left behind. But what do you think? Has DiCaprio's refusal to settle down added to his mystique, or has it cost him the chance at a different kind of legacy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more untold stories of Hollywood's greatest legends, hit that subscribe button and join us here at Icon Legends, where the truth behind the legend is finally revealed.